baby, I can hold it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last episode of The Couch for the spring 2021 semester. I hope that everyone is doing well out there. My name is Sharon. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the Mosaic Program Coordinator, and I'm going to kick it over to Kenny to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Kenny. I am the cultural programmer at Mosaic. I use they, them pronouns. Now I'm gonna pass it over to Parul.
Hi, my name is Parul. I work for the APITA task force and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I will pass it on to Jazz.
Thanks, Parul. Hey, everyone. I'm Jazz. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the social media coordinator for Mosaic. And I'll pass it off to Erica.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica. I'm the graphic designer at Mosaic, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'll pass it off to Chris.
Thanks, Erica. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the director of the Mosaic Cross Cultural Center. Welcome.
Yeah, so I hope you've checked out a couple of these on our YouTube channel, but if this is the first episode that you're checking out, hello. You're gonna see us kind of talk about a lot of different things in all the episodes. But we're glad that you're here. This is a lot of our staff is graduating, and I wanted to kind of have this last one be, we'll see where we go, but I also wanted to start off by asking the question, what has been something that you didn't imagine being part of as you were part of Mosaic and the PETA task force? And then also, what do you hope your legacy is that you're leaving behind as part of Mosaic? I went deep, y'all. I went deep.
I'm down to start it off with just our playlist, our Music Monday series. We just released our very last one of the semester. And as I was completing like the cover art for it, I was like, what volume is this? And checking our Spotify, and we made 19 playlists since like 2 semesters ago, I think now. So I feel like that's a really big accomplishment and a really big collaborative effort that I'm really proud of, for everyone contributing music and art and just vibing with Mosaic. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm glad that that's something that can live on past this semester, and hopefully students in the future can enjoy and continue to create together moving forward.
Yeah, I think like just to go off of that, like I think like just in general, I think when I first started working at Mosaic, like I didn't expect to like when I first started working and then up to now, I didn't like expect to build as a strong community as we did, especially like through the pandemic as well. Like obviously none of us like expected, this past year, but it's like the fact that we like still kept like doing the things we did in a different way and still like managed to build community like through that. I don't know, it was like really cool. I felt like that was a really big part of everything.
So I'll say that like I did not expect, or like when everything started happening, when the pandemic started, I didn't really have like high hopes for the task force because I feel like we've been hit with a lot of not so great news concerning like if we were ever going to get a center for like Asian Pacific Islanders and Desi Americans. But I want to say I felt like we actually did build community online more than I thought we were going to. And I will say from Mosaic perspective, something that this staff has actually taught me is to like be more nicer and be more understanding. Like I always tell people that they're like, "Oh, do you enjoy like working with them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I feel like they made me better people." And I actually say that to people. Like this is not just me saying that to be sentimental. I actually do say that. So thank you guys.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah, I think, but before I started Mosaic, I was really nervous because like I didn't feel like I had much to contribute. Like the imposter syndrome was really real. Um, but I'm really grateful
Are you
for,
glad that I pushed you to apply?
yeah, Sharon was like, yeah, you could apply for this, but you should definitely apply to be a programmer. And I was like, okay. And I'm really glad that she did because it really, like working here really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I learned a lot from like all of my uh fellow staff members. Um, yeah, and I'm like not afraid to speak in front of people now. Like that's wild. So I'm really glad that I we all got to experience this together. And I'm happy that to be working with y'all at this time at the same time as y'all. Very grateful.
I wanted to share a little bit too about like how, you know, first of all, I am immensely grateful for the four of you for being on our student staff this year. Um, you know, I think part of surviving through the global pandemic has been making sure that we still can continue to do the work we believe in and still continue to do work that we believe is of benefit to the campus, of benefit to our community. Um, and I think the four of you have really um, been crucial for that, you know, whether it's APITA work or whether it's Mosaic work, like all four of you have stepped up and like really made uh made this past year like effective, you know. I think some of the stuff that you all have done throughout this past year, I think has been very impressive. Um Certainly being able to pull off the open mics, being able to pull off, you know, our podcast series, our video series, you know, being able to pull off like events that, you know, take place on Instagram or take place on YouTube. Like that's all stuff that like I would have wanted us to do anyway, but we just never were never able to tackle it before. And you know, the thing about the pandemic was that it forced us all to have to figure that stuff out. And you all have been so good at like being part of that change. So, you know, I'm really grateful that the four of you were here for this year and recognizing the amount of work and the amount of labor and the amount of like dedication that it took to pull off this year. So thank you all so for this year, you know.
Yeah, I mean, totally echoing a lot of the things that were shared. I think I've seen so much growth in just the last year. Like, you know, within all of us. And you know, to Kenny's point, you know, it's like the fact that we were all working together at this point, like who would have thought? Yeah, who would have thought? But also like, you know, there's so many things have to happen in the universe for us to like meet people and connect in so many different ways. And we're all very different, y'all. Like we all feel and think, I mean, there was before we start recording, we had a very interesting conversation, which we'll throw it to all of you later. But just the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we process is so different. But the fact that we've come together and done 19 volumes of playlists and collaborated with student orgs and different departments and the projects that we've done, I'm really proud, right? And yeah, I mean, like, I think back, like Kenny was like, no, I don't think I'll be a good cultural programmer, to like, let me tell you about this. And like seeing Erica be a frosh, who I started with, like literally when I was an interim at Mosaic, you were like applying, and you came through to like an open mic, and you're like, so what is this space about? And now look at you, and I remember sitting next to Parul when Cynthia was there. Oh, shout out to Cynthia. And you being like, so like, are you a student? And then Jazz coming through looking like way too cool. Like I was like, this person is just like way too cool. And showing can be like, oh, I'm here to talk about the Fresh Press collaboration. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, what are you about? And you were just like, oh, like this is what I'm passionate about. And like, do. And I was like, oh, I need this person to be part of Mosaic. And like, it was this like instant thing of like, oh, I have, Chris and I were already thinking of having a social media coordinator, because we were just like, we want to start doing things on a virtual platform. And Jazz is like, I like making videos, I like doing art, I like music. And we were all like, yeah, okay, cool. And I remember talking to Chris after Jazz left, and I was like, I just had this meeting for a collab, but like also this person, Jasmine, was amazing. And all of the connections and all of the all the things that brought us together for this year is just I'm super thankful to the universe for this moment. And yeah, thank you so much. But also, Chris, do you want to ask that straw question now?
Okay, since you're putting me on blast, so the question, like a little behind the scenes stuff, like when we do these recordings, sometimes we have to wait a couple minutes for everyone to sign on and that kind of stuff, and people have to like figure out how to turn on and off their mics and stuff, so it takes a little bit of time just to get everything sorted. So just to give everyone something to talk about, when we signed on right before we started recording, the question that was posed was, how many holes does a straw have? One or two? And it was a good discussion. It was I think we have a few people on team 2 holes, and we have a few people on team 1 hole. Yeah.
But either way, Paul's like, I'm right. Like that's it. Like no matter what anyone says, I'm right.
Nah, I feel the same way.
Oh, okay, Kenny's in there too.
I'm still confused. Like my brain's going both ways. I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, the argument that really like, because when I first heard this question before, my first thought was 1 hole, obviously. But the argument that Sharon made about how many holes are in your head was like very convincing to me, because like I'm sitting here thinking in my head like, okay, if you have a skull and you look at how many holes does a skull have, and it has eye holes, it has nose holes, like they all connect to the same cavity. So isn't that the same hole, right? Like the 1 hole argument, wouldn't all of that be the same hole if it all connects to the same cavity?
I don't really consider eyes to be holes, because there's something like there.
Well, just thinking about a skull, like not the head, but the skull, right? Or really, I guess it doesn't have to be a skull, right? The other thought is like, that I asked was, if you have an object and it has 1 hole that goes in, but then halfway through it splits into two holes, and then has two exits, right? So you have one hole that has one entrance but two exits. Is that all the same hole?
So like a tunnel.
Yeah, like a two passage tunnel.
But if you have a cup with a bunch of holes in it, is it just one hole? No, it's a bunch of different holes in the cup.
Right. So then my argument is that would be multiple holes, just like a straw, because it has.
No, but they connect to the same thing. They're one shoot. Like a bullet. Okay, let's go back to the bullet. If you get shot, that's one hole if it comes out, because you just straight through you. But if it's in the middle, it's still one shot, one hole.
Okay. I have a theoretical question then. Let's say you get shot and there's no exit. So you get shot and the bullet is like, I don't know, something happens to the bullet. I don't know, whatever. But you get shot and it went halfway through, it didn't exit. Then you get shot again from the other side and the bullet exits the same wound that the first bullet made. Does that make sense? So you get shot, but it doesn't go through, and then you get shot again from the other side, and this time the bullet goes through the first hole.
But then it's like the same thing. Then it's one hole.
But you got shot twice.
Right.
But it's the same hole.
2 instances, one hole. Like if you dig a hole and then somebody's like on the other side, like digging on the other side, it's not two holes, we made one big hole.
Agreed. I'm just thinking if you put a straw like under the sink or something, under like running water, it would just flow through in like one direction.
Okay, but that's the same thing as like when you choke on milk or water, it comes out your nose, right? But it's different holes.
What if it's all just one hole? Maybe that's the argument here.
My favorite thing is all like the examples y'all bring up. It's like a bullet getting shot, choking on milk.
This is a very violent conversation.
There was like a mountain example earlier too. I'm trying to think what else.
The cave.
But not as evocative as getting shot though.
Okay, what about when someone's like poke holes in something, you know? Like,
ooh, like when you're baking and you have to like,
and there's no exit, right?
Right.
But each one you poke, that's one hole.
So
there's multiple holes if you keep poking.
So your thing is because it's a straw and there's an entrance and an exit, it is one hole.
Yes.
So then what about our bodies?
One hole.
One giant hole.
Just one giant hole.
I feel like straws should not be compared to bodies. Just kidding. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like a straw. I don't even consider a straw a hole. I just feel like it's like a rolled up thing. Like I don't think it's a hole. Yeah, it's like a tube. It's a tunnel.
It's a tube.
So maybe the better question is, does a tube have one hole or two holes?
I feel like, okay, something can't be a hole if at one point it was like all closed up. If it was just made to just
Wait,
what? What?
like say you have like dirt, you have like dirt, like the ground.
Uh-huh.
And then you dig a hole. Now there's a hole. but a tube, like not a tube, a straw or whatever, a tube was just made that way. There's no holes. It was just made that way.
Now I'm thinking of other tubes like pasta.
But you can make tubes. Like, let's say you have a donut and then you cut a hole out of the center. You made a tube.
Is that two holes?
I don't know. It could be.
Chris is broken. Kenny just broke Chris.
Now I'm just thinking of a straw as like a long hole.
Just a really long hole.
Yeah, like a wormhole, or like it's just a hole. But then you don't think of it as a hole, it's just like an elongated one. But I don't know.
Word for elongated hole? It's all holes, right? There's no.
So this brings us back to it's just one hole. That's the answer. No, I really looked it up, and the mathematically correct answer is one hole. I don't know.
But
Nobody looked that up before.
But math has been colonized.
First, we need to define what a hole is, and then we can move forward.
So speaking of, then the other question is completely unrelated to straws and holes. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes. Bread, meat, sandwich.
This debate is like a religion. Like there is somebody who made like a whole tier of like sandwiches that I know from Meat Space from the magazine. And like they
Wait,
did this
so-
as a presentation.
Oh, they gave you a presentation on it?
Yeah, it was like a whole
So
presentation.
Jazz is like, I'm not here for this again.
I can't.
Well, I
What
mean,
was the conclusion? Yes?
I'll let y'all decide.
Okay, no worries. Okay. I mean, back to the couch episode. We're way past anything. So the other thing that I think both me and Sharon are curious about that I would love for y'all to talk about is like, what does the future look like, right? So two things will happen. One,
Jazz just got anxiety.
well, here's the two things. One thing that'll happen is you all will leave San Jose State, do other things, be awesome people, continue to be awesome people, yada yada yada. The other thing that will happen is Mosaic, fingers crossed, will continue as the department of the cross cultural center here at San Jose State, and we will have a new set of students come in. They will work. They will graduate. We'll have another set. Anyway, so there's these two paths, right? Your future, Mosaic's future, right? And so the question then becomes, what do you see for your future, or what do you see for Mosaic's future?
Manifest it, y'all. Manifest it.
I would say for Mosaic, I think this year was really an eye-opener for a lot of people, like including myself. And I feel like now we know the importance of why Mosaic and other identity centers are on campus. Because I know like not everybody really knew what they were, like utilized them. And this year was an eye-opener. So like if people needed resources locally, instead of just like social media and anything, now they have a physical place to go to. So I could see like the use of Mosaic like being more utilized. Not that it wasn't already, but like more sought out and more appreciated.
Yeah, I agree. And like from what Sharon has told me about incoming applications for next semester, there's a lot of people who are interested in joining and contributing to the space. And even if, they don't end up on the team, it's like to see that many people interested in just becoming a part of Mosaic and, hopefully joining events and organizing with us with Mosaic in the future, then yeah, I agree. Like it's definitely brought together community during a time where it was needed most and allowed people to have a space to connect and vent and just yeah, express themselves virtually and hopefully, physically soon.
Um, yeah, honestly, y'all kind of covered it. I'm just excited for the time where people can sit in the office again. Honestly, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Like that's honestly like the best part of it for me. Just kind of seeing everybody come in and talking to them and like, building community in that kind of way. So yeah.
Yeah, I also agree. Like, I feel like even if I'm not gonna like, because I'm graduating, I'm not gonna be there. I feel like I'm really excited for folks to like experience Mosaic for the first time, especially like people that are first years this year who will be like maybe second or third years once they like finally get to walk in the space, and just like see it vibe on the actual couches, get to have these conversations like, in person. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm excited for the folks who like will continue utilizing the space. And also, yeah, just like everything y'all said.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you're right. I think you're all right in terms of um the importance of grounding and the importance of place. Um and I think, part of part of part of the United States legacy is that we have a complicated history with place, right? And like I think similarly with Mosaic, like we have this complicated history with place. And I think that like there are times in which it is hard, there are times in which it's problematic, there are times in which it is complicated, but there are also times in which it's very loving and satisfying and warm. Um, and a lot of that stuff exists simultaneously. I think about like all of the things that we are missing because we're not there in terms of community, in terms of conversation, in terms of dialogue, in terms of affirmation. I also think realistically too of all the things that we don't have to worry about because we're not there. Like all the little like keeping the space clean and like making people swipe in and like, you know, people who just leave their food behind on the tables. Um, having to lock the door, remembering to turn off the lights, all that stuff. Like, yeah, like space is complicated, I think.
Yeah, shout out to Olivia for always cleaning and lysoling everything.
Before the pandemic.
Olivia was like, this couch needs to be clean.
She knew.
She knew.
Honestly, like all of those things. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say,
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say all those things that like Chris was like listing off of like physical space responsibilities is like it took me back. It's like a distant memory now. It's wild. Flashbacks, yeah.
I or like when Chris was like people leaving their food behind. Kenny was like it was
I feel like some of y'all had a moment
shift.
where you're. I feel like some of y'all had a moment where you were like, I think I really did leave a sandwich behind before COVID. Like, I think it's still there.
Yeah, and I remember like people would walk in so fast and sometimes they just wouldn't sign in and then it'd be so awkward. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you knew that they didn't sign in and they knew they didn't sign in, but like sometimes I just didn't say anything.
The times that would happen to me, like my first year I worked there, I would just be like, I would just walk over. I was like, I was too scared to like I hated confrontation. I kind of still hate confrontation, but back then I was just like, like, what do I say? I'll just let them chill. And then also, when you were listing those things, I was also thinking about like, damn, putting the chairs out, putting them back for like events and stuff, having to think about like table placement. I miss those things.
Or where to put the
Oh.
whiteboard.
I missed that whiteboard. I feel like I was so excited to purchase that whiteboard and like it's just there.
People sleeping on our couches.
Yeah.
Having to awkwardly wake up to people sleeping on the couches. So I also, Sharon, you go.
I was gonna say, but it's also really nice knowing that people felt safe enough to fall asleep in Mosaic. You know, there's something about the fact that people, like sometimes you'd wake up people and they'd be like, oh my God, I missed class, or like, oh my God, like I've been up studying for this final or whatever. And like, I haven't slept in like 12 hours. So there was something always nice, like even though they were really disoriented and I felt bad, there was a sense of like, I'm glad you felt safe enough to sleep in this space. Yeah.
So then the other thing that comes to mind then is what do you leave behind in Mosaic? So y'all have been part of this for a couple years now. And if you think about yourself 5 years, 10 years from now, whatever, and you come back to Mosaic to see what we're doing, to visit, to whatever, what are the things that are still here from when you were here? Like, what do you leave behind?
I feel like all of us in the time that we've been involved with the space like have left like a new I don't want to say like a new way of like looking at things, but like I feel like we all kind of encourage the space in our own way to do things like different, if that makes sense. So I feel like I'm still making this thought out, but like I feel like we were constantly like saying like, oh, we don't have to do like programs this one way, or like even just like when we're having conversations, we're like, oh, like we don't have to think about it like this certain way, right? We can, I don't know, like different things. I feel. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I still remember this is just a random thought, but I still remember that one day that like, so we were talking about podcasts and stuff, and we wanted people to do podcasts. And Roman just like did his own podcast and edited it and brought the whole thing back finished. And I was like, whoa, like you just did your own podcast. Like he went to the campus training on how to use Adobe Audition, and then he recorded it, and then he edited it, and he added music, and he was just like, here it is, it's done. And yeah, it was just one of those moments where it's like, yeah, like people take ownership of your stuff, you know?
I would say for me, I think like the work we did was like just the initial groundwork to get something up and running. So in 10 years, I hope to look back at like a fully developed APITA center, and I like want to see what they end up doing with it. So it was cool to just be the first staff to like help start that up.
Yeah, I think we should name the center after you, Parl. You definitely worked there the longest.
Oh yeah, totally. Like my face
Yeah.
on the wall, everywhere.
Judging people.
I mean, Jazz was the first in her role. So I feel like the entire shaping of what it means to do social media for Mosaic is going to be, you know, a piece of Jazz is going to be part of it. Just, yeah. And then Erica's font.
The Holy Grail.
The what?
I said the Holy Grail.
Yeah, it's you know, it's so uniquely Erica. Like people will look at it and be like, your graphic designer is dope. Obviously, you know, that gave that every cohort of student staff has its own distinct style because of how folks work with our graphic designer. Like I will always remember Grayson taking his photography and embedding it into calendars and putting texture on it and making it, you know, something really, really cool. So he went off on a Black History Month calendar using photographs and putting texture and illustrations around the photographs of people. And, you know, I think every year our marketing team now is going to have a piece of everyone, right? I think Grayson left behind, you know, a physical calendar layout that even Erica was utilizing, you know, with the boxes and the texture and the images, but they always put their own spin to it. So I think that's going to be amazing. I think Kenny's contribution to the open mics has been something that I will never, ever forget and appreciate so much. The energy of being so, I mean, it's hard, you know, you're just live on YouTube and sometimes you don't know what's going on. There's technical issues, but Kenny like always held it down. But not only that, you know, I would get performers emailing back saying like, thank you so much. I felt like the vibe and I felt so like, I felt the energy back, and it's hard to do that online. And so for Kenny to do that, you know, because you're the only one interacting with the speakers. I think that's something that's hopefully replicated somehow in person as well. We don't know how yet, but hopefully that energy and that vibe can be, you know, brought back or expanded upon somehow. And then Parul, I just feel like you held it down for like so long. You know, and through it all, like going through your own stuff while being the only, you know, staff that was there the longest. I in awe of you, like just being like, I'm showing up because I'm showing up. It's just incredible. I'm a big person on giving folks flowers while they're around, right? Like I feel like when people pass away, then we're like, oh my God, they were so amazing. Like, no, we need to do that more often. We need to give people flowers while they're here, while we can say like, I love you, I care about you, like I appreciate you all. So yeah.
So beautiful.
And also giving Chris flowers. Damn, he was a co-chair for PETA Task Force, director of Mosaic, part of several search committees and task force and chairs and co-chairs for things. Like it's a lot of work. And I feel like our campus does not appreciate Chris enough. And I'll be the first to say, you know, I think we need to give more flowers to Chris in different spaces as well.
I appreciate that, Sharon.
Yeah, Chris, whole class.
I would say the same to you too, Sharon. I think, you know, you're you're an invaluable part of Mosaic. And like, I think more than just putting in hard work, which you do every day, and more than just like um advocating for our students, which you do every day. Um, but part of what you really contribute to Mosaic is that I think for all of our students, whether they're staff or community members or whoever, like everybody looks up to you. Like, I think every one of our staff members and students look to you as an example of somebody who lives by their values, who cares for people, who's empathetic, who can provide leadership without being overbearing or without being destructive, who can provide guidance without being dictatorial, who can provide, empathy and kindness, and compassion. I think you like are the the kind of person that I think our students hope to develop into.
Gross.
Wow, we just want to give you your flowers, okay? We love you. You are like literally holding like the glue with the
Aw.
one-on-ones that you have with all of us, and like, you and Chris working together to make Mosaic part of the community, and like especially during this whole year. And yeah, that means so much to me, and I'm sure to all of us as well.
I wanted to say that like I really meant it when you two like all the Mosaic staff, but especially you two made me want to be like kinder and nicer, because there have been so many moments like where I have not been the best or I have not been into it, but you two have treated me like so kindly, or took the time to explain something to me, or took the time to do something for me like when you really didn't have to because you're not being paid for me, but you did. So I really did appreciate that. And there have been times where I have not been informed or as educated as I should have been, but instead of like judging me for it, or you guys took the time to teach me or explain perspectives to me, and it really did change a lot of the way my mind worked. So I want to thank you two a lot for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. Like, there's so many things that I don't know, right? Like every day is just trying. And the pandemic really highlighted that like anti-Blackness is real in all of us, right? And how do we show up? How to do this work? How do we show compassion? And then even with, I mean, there's so many things around, policy and bills around trans folks, trans kids not getting their rights, to the rise in Asian hate, right? There's been so many things, and it's impacted us on personal levels and in the work that we're passionate in doing. And like, no cohort of Mosaic staff is perfect, right? Like, we're all trying, we're all learning in the process. And I think the thing that I really appreciate about this cohort of APITA and Mosaic staff is the fact that we really tried. Like, I think every time we set our minds into trying to do something, like we did as best as we could, with as much heart and compassion that we could bring. And that's something I will always be proud of in this moment. Like, yeah, we didn't do 50 programs in a semester. Like, I can't believe we used to do that in person to begin with. But I'm also like, the work that we did produce, the projects that we worked on, like, I'm really, really proud of this year more than the 50 things that we did when we were in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the place that I see everybody excelling in is that the things that we do are things that matter to you, are things that you believe in, and are things that affect you, whether positively, negatively, whatever you want to say affect you means. But like, we don't do things just because it's a checkbox, right? We don't do things just because like, you know, because other people do it, right? Like we do things because, you know, we believe in the core of what that thing is, you know, even stuff like being part of like Admitted Spartans days and stuff like that. Like that's stuff that we kind of have to do because we're part of the campus. And yet at the same time, you all come through with those, you know, with passion and with energy and with compassion, right? Like you, because you are, so you want students to be connected to Mosaic, you want students to be connected with the PETA, you're excited about building community.
Yeah,
So
like when
like,
you'll talk to high school students or do classroom presentations, like Kenny's done a whole bunch of classroom presentations, and you know, you all show up, and like even when a student asks a question out of pocket, like y'all are like, okay, let's do this, you know, and I just so appreciate that. Yeah. So, any final thoughts? Where are folks at right now?
I just think I'm hella grateful. I feel like just reflecting on anything. I feel like in the past month or like the past semester, it's been hard to like really just sit down and reflect on like the past years, you know? Um, and I don't know, I just feel like hella grateful, like for everything, for y'all, and then just for like the things that like y'all taught me. And I don't know. I feel like I just feel so like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of love and stuff. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm definitely there with you, Erica. I feel like even just having the couch and doing podcasts and meetings have been such a like thing that I look forward to. Like usually meetings are like, oh, like I have a meeting that I have to go to and it's another Zoom call, but like I always look forward to checking in with you all. And yeah, hella grateful for all the experiences that I've had in the last couple of years, like reflecting on everything that you both, Sharon and Chris, have given like us the opportunity to do. And then just being able to like meet everybody through Mosaic has been such an amazing opportunity and experience. And I've learned so much from like each of you also. Yeah, hella grateful and thankful to have crossed paths and excited to see what's to come for Mosaic in the future.
I just love y'all. Y'all are dope. Y'all are really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, hags. Stay in touch. But yeah, I this job has definitely been like a highlight of my experience at SJSU, and just highlight of like my development as a person in general. And yeah, I'm very grateful for all of the connections in the community that we've made. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like I just feel all ooey and gooey inside.
I would say like same as everyone, but I feel like I wasn't necessarily as close to you all before the pandemic because I was just kind of there. Like we didn't really like talk as much. Like we talked, but we didn't talk as much. But like this was a hard year, but one of the highlights was all of you, and even just talking to you all twice a week about like nothing and everything. Like it really did like have a good effect on me. And I'm telling you, like I feel like you all changed my growth and the kind of person I want to be. So appreciate you all always, especially Sharon and Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the same back to all of you. I think, you know, I think, one of the things that I've looked forward to every week for the past year has been staff meetings because, like, there's been so much ridiculous stuff that's happened this year, and like, like those like committees or those like whatever Senate spaces or like those like campus-wide meetings, they're no joke. They're like ridiculous sometimes. Like, I think the pandemic has really like made it very clear like where some of the faults in higher education lie.
Mhm.
And being able to come back to Mosaic and say, at least here things make sense. At least here I have people who agree with me. At least here I have people who understand my perspective and where I'm coming from. Has been really good. I think a good reprieve for me this past year. So I really appreciate you all for that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you to everyone for sharing your thoughts. Thank you to you watching right now. Let us know in the comments below if you think straws have one hole or two. Also, if a hot dog is a sandwich or what's the other option?
No, that's it. That's the option.
Oh, if
Is it a
it's a
sandwich or
sandwich.
not?
Yeah. And then, I wouldn't be me if I didn't say, I challenge you to give some folks flowers in the moment, through social media, through a text, FaceTime, or in person, if you can safely. Because appreciate you all, and I hope everyone has a good summer break. Bye.